Right, my next guest, we finally got him on the show. We have a singer-songwriter from North Worcestershire, and his name is Dan Greenaway. You may see his name plastered on many advertisement billboards and pubs across the region. And welcome to the XLR Breakfast Show, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
That's
Much
it, you're very
appreciated.
welcome. And just tell our listeners, you're a singer-songwriter, and I know you play many instruments as well. You're based Birmingham, Worcestershire as well.
Yeah, I was born in Worcester,
Yeah.
um, grew up in Bromsgrove, and now I live sort of Droitwich postcode, but Wychbold, which is just sort of in between
Yeah,
Droitwich and Bromsgrove.
yeah,
So,
very nice
yeah,
area.
local lad.
Yeah, and as I says when I was just introducing you on, you're quite well known around the Midlands. Always see you in the papers, your name, and advertised around the region.
Yeah, they've not managed to get rid of me yet. I'm still up to my old tricks and
Yeah,
a couple of new ones soon, hopefully, different projects in the
yeah,
pipeline.
yes, they're still going strong. Dan, how long have you been performing for?
Um, Well, it's going to be a little while, being as I'm having to think hard. Well, I first started performing in school. I suppose I'd get up and do a few spots, in assemblies and stuff like that, and that would be from sort of the age of, I don't know, 14, 15, really.
Yeah,
And then I got in different bands, sort of indie rock bands, that sort of outfit, and I ended up being a singer and lead man by default, really, because the singer in our band at the time, he just upped and quit all of a sudden, and we didn't have anyone to replace him.
yeah,
And I used to get up and do some sort of, I suppose it'd be interludes, shall we say, when we were doing band sets, and I'd get up and just to pad the set out, really, if we were doing a pub gig or something, and the landlord wanted a certain amount of music and we'd only got so much to do, so I used to get up in between in the sets and do a little bit on my own. And I suppose that's where the sort of the solo artist sort of came into being, really, because I used to find that was really more laid back, and I could sort of speed things up, slow things down, chat to the audience. You probably gathered I'm quite chatty.
So you've been performing for quite a while now, and you're still going strong. And how would you describe your music? I know you says that Newton Faulkner and even Ed Sheeran have influences in your music.
Yeah, I mean, I'm way older than Mr. Sheeran, but I've been sort of in that genre,
Mm,
a good 10 years before anybody heard about Ed Sheeran. But I don't do the loop station thing. I haven't kind of ventured into that
mm,
realm yet. But I am excited to sort of give it a go at some point. But at the moment, it's probably closer to sort of Newton Faulkner in
mm,
that he makes quite a big sound out of one guitar,
mm.
and he's quite percussive with the playing. So I think, but I might be a little bit of a pop influence of the Ed Sheeran
Yeah.
thing. And then I also quoted Ben Howard, who's
Oh yes.
sort of he's sort of not as in the limelight at the moment, but I do really like his
Yeah.
music.
Were the Beatles ever an inspiration for you?
I think they can always be an influence. They've done so much
Mm,
stuff.
mm.
It's like a little pot of all sorts of influences and genres. My father-in-law is a big Beatles
Yeah.
fan, and so he'll be getting dusting off some of the records,
Yeah.
and there's I don't know, it all seems fresh, even though it was done a long time ago.
Yeah, so many songs as well, especially with them being remastered as well. Still sounds good
Yeah,
today. Yeah,
and I think also that there's so many of the bands and artists that are influenced by them that you can sort of hear little sort of not ripping them off, but the influences are definitely there throughout loads
mm,
of other
mm,
bands and artists that I like as well. So
mm.
I don't think you can get away from it, really. They're
No,
very influential.
yeah, very. And you of course write original material. Do you sing many covers at all in your gigs, or do you like to just keep it original?
Well, I suppose this has sort of split the career in different ways,
Mm,
really, in that I do a lot of weddings, and I managed to win a wedding industry awards in 2017 for best solo
hmm.
act. Um, and that's going really well, and I've really enjoyed doing the weddings. And obviously, they want to hear songs that they know, so I'll be creative,
Yeah,
by doing my own twist on different cover
Sure.
songs, and also sort of being a bit of a human jukebox, in that I'll have a request book and they can go through a few hundred songs and just choose what they want,
Yeah.
and sort of queue up the jukebox, and I'll play the songs to them, either unplugged, sat round tables, and wherever the guests are during drinks receptions, or I can do sort of plugged in set, bit louder, and get people up and dancing.
So you got sorry.
That's sorry, I'm waffling on, and there's that side of it where I do a lot more covers, and then perhaps doing the original stuff works more for festivals, and showcase gigs, and if you're doing an album launch, that kind of thing.
So you've got many projects going on at the moment, which is good. Good to keep busy.
Yeah, I mean, the two biggest projects at the moment are my son and my daughter. So that sort of obviously has a big influence on your time and restricts you in some ways. But I feel like I've got a lot of original material, like the seeds of ideas, so a couple of albums worth, that I'm sort of charging up, and then when they get a little bit older, so they're only 4 and 2, I'll have a little bit more time to sort of develop all those ideas. But I've got a few albums that worth of material from before, so I sort of still gig those and put the odd new song in. But
so you're a local lad, and you cover like Bromsgrove, Worcestershire, basically the West Midlands. What part of the region, or even the UK, do you enjoy performing in?
I'd probably say, not to sound boring and old, but the local gigs are great because you haven't got that few hours drive at the end of the night when you've done the gig, and and then friends and family can just sort of turn up on spec if they want to, and it's just, I suppose, just the logistics of the travelling. It sounds, when you say to people, "Oh, I'm going here, I'm going there," and you'll see people put things on social media and quick little pictures and videos, but the reality of touring is it's a hard grind. It's quite a long slog, and you're away from the people that you love, and you don't really get to spend that much time, sort of doing the holiday kind of tourist, seeing all the sites, because you're busy loading in and out, and then you got to get back on the road. So at some point, I'm going to get the camper van on the go, and when the kids are a bit older, and basically make it a tour, but also a life experience of going around visiting places, and go touring for 6 months or something. And that's like one of my life ambitions, really, to sort of travel and do the music at the same time. But there's
some nice places to see in the UK, aren't there? I mean, like touring, people don't realise like the amount of work you have to put into like your musical career, like the setting up, the packing away, and the getting to the venue as well. There's a lot of behind the scenes work, not just performing on stage in this music business.
Definitely. I mean, I see sometimes people post up, what does a musician do? They get paid and they just get up and do a couple of hours work, and you think, well, and then they reel off all the other things you've got to do. So it's, as you know, there's a bit more to it.
Yeah, it's not always as clean cut as just performing on stage. There's a lot of work you have to put into it to get on that stage, isn't there? Exactly.
But I wouldn't change it. But it's so that going back to like what gigs do I prefer? Probably the local ones where it's within about an hour's journey,
we had Metch Junior. I'm sure you know him. We had him on the show last week. Who's
that? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Metch Junior. We interviewed him last week. He mentioned you are in the Henley Festival, the bank holiday weekend. I believe it's a Monday, the 27th of August.
Yeah, that sounds right. It'd be an afternoon slot, I think.
Yeah, and I believe you're on before Red Hot Chili Peppers tribute band.
Sounds cool to me.
Yeah, that sounds really good fun. 27th of August, Henley Festival Bank at the Butcher, I believe.
The Butcher Social?
Yep, that's maybe the one. Yep, that's correct.
That's a lovely venue. That'll be great.
So, so hope our listeners mark that date on their diary. Should be a good
I'll
one.
stick it on the website and social media pretty soon as well.
Yeah, and you're also quite trendy on stage, aren't you? You're wearing your assortment of hats. How many hats do you have in your collection?
Well, I tend to just I wore all different sorts of
Mm.
hats, really. Over the years, I've sort of tried different ones. This is before I was more follically challenged. I would wear hats anyway, but I've gone through a sort of a train driver type hat, beanie hats, flat cap.
Mm.
But I've settled more on the trilby, really, and just not smooth criminal kind of trilby
Mm.
where it's Michael Jackson trying to cover your eyes up a bit, and just more tilted up,
Yeah.
probably a bit more like some of the old ska bands
Yeah. Yeah.
used to do, like the pork pie hat thing.
And
So I've
Frank's,
got a load. I
yeah,
got loads of them.
yeah.
But
Frank Sinatra wore some of those hats as well. Some of the old 50 crooners, didn't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Of course, your Rat Pack thing before that as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. So yeah, I've kind of settled on that as more my style, and just a waistcoat, skinny jeans kind of
Mm.
thing, and
Mm.
yeah, I'm not mega trendy, but I just feel comfortable in
Yeah.
that stuff,
Yeah.
really.
Well, obviously works. And do
Well,
you? Sorry.
yeah, I've kind of gone with that, and actually, we joke sometimes that if I don't have my hat on, it's a bit like I'm in disguise, and people don't recognise me. Um, then I put the hat on, they go, "Oh yeah, it's you."
Yeah. Usually it's the other way around. When you wear a hat, you're actually in disguise.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I suppose my work, if you like, is my social life as
Yeah.
well, because it tends to be on the weekend. So people tend to see you when you're wearing the hat,
Yeah.
and then you're walking around sort
Yeah.
of, who's that bald guy?
And do you love the meeting of people as well? Meeting different ages and
Oh,
generations.
absolutely. I mean, that's why I love weddings so much.
Mm.
Obviously, people are there to enjoy themselves anyway. But yeah, parties and events where you get a chance to meet people, rub shoulders, and have a little chat, and it's good. I wouldn't call it market research. Sounds a bit formal, but people are asking you, "Can you play this? Can you play that?" And it's good because you're getting all these different influences, and a lot of the time they're introducing me to artists and musicians that I don't really know much about. I might have heard the names, but then you go away and you like listen to it a bit, and it's always keeps it fresh then, because you've got
Yeah.
such a wide variety of different ages and sort of influences and things that people like.
Yeah, because like obviously being a radio presenter, DJ, I say people request songs, and I say to them, I'm open to suggestions, but I do like the requests because there's some songs which they suggest which are like, wow, I would never play that in a million years, and they've actually given me inspiration to play the song for next time.
Yeah,
And it's good that people do get involved and like to suggest songs, and that means there's a connection with the audience there, and
yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I find with the request book, um, when you go in, I sort of go around a bit like a magician would sort of group up and break the ice, entertain groups of people. And when I'm doing that, I offer them the request book, and some of them will be asking for, Johnny Cash "Hurt," his version of
yeah,
9 Inch Nails song. Not really what you'd call a stereotypical walk down the aisle wedding song,
mm, mm,
but these little groups of people that they're well into that, so you just play that song for that group, and they'll be digging that, or tribute to Nations D or whatever it is.
mm.
And then obviously you'll get the other sort of lovey-dovey songs that you'll get asked for as well. So it just keeps it fresh,
Yeah,
really.
sure. And you have a website, don't you?
I do. We've got a new one on the way, but it will still be under dangreenaway.com.
So that's dangreenaway.com.
That's it.
Where do you see yourself and the music business in about 10 years' time? Do you reckon it'll progress, or do you think it'll keep evolving?
Well, I did mention the loop station sort of idea, but I might want to dip back into some of the indie and rock influences, and maybe use. I went to a musicians union workshop for vocal looping and using your voice to create the whole backing track, and it's amazing what you can do. And I've got a sort of lower register voice anyway, so I could probably do some of the beatboxing stuff, and just, I don't know, do something like a little bit different from any genre I've done before. And that's a project I'd like to do over the next few years. And then getting into the publishing side of things, where I write songs for other people, for adverts, for TV. Computer games is massive as well, to
Wow.
be honest.
Yeah.
And in that respect, I can be free to sort of step outside of the guy with the hat and the waistcoat as the performer, and then just go and have, if I'm feeling like a heavy rock riff coming on, I can sort of write the song, record the song. That reminds me to mention the producer Ben Stankham, who I've recently recorded with on the track I believe we're going to play at some point. Parachute.
We're going to come to that in a bit.
Yeah, so I basically will write the songs and work with a producer like Ben, and then find a home for the song rather than. And then I think it's a bit more organic than writing to criteria. But basically, I just want to get into the writing side of things, so I can have that working, and then obviously carry on doing working up the festival gigs again, and get back to Glastonbury if I can, and sort of build up those contacts again, because it is difficult to keep on top of that, when you've got a young family. To be honest,
Great stuff. So you touched on your new single Parachute. We're gonna put that on now for you, if that's all right with you. And,
yeah, definitely.
And so, what's the song about? Have you ever been parachuting? Just out of curiosity.
I would absolutely love to do a skydive. It would scare the heck out of me, but it's on my bucket list, if you know what I mean. I don't know if you've seen that film, The Bucket List, but it'd be definitely something I want to do at some point. But I've never actually parachuted. It was more the idea of on an emotional level when people are having a hard time, they need someone there to sort of stop them going splat basically, and when they feel like they're in free fall, and just that idea of someone being there for them, really.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me, Dan. Absolute pleasure.
Sorry if I've warbled on, but I was excited to come on and have a little chat.
No problem whatsoever. So we're going to play your new single now, Parachute, and thanks a million, Dan. Chatting us XLR Radio, and we'll check in with you soon. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Danny. Cheers, mate.